Good afternoon, Tom Johnson, along with our mayor, Alex Rounaghi. Alex, it's always great to see you. Welcome.
Great to see you, Tom, virtually.
Yeah, virtually. It's funny. A young guy like you, you've gotten into the workplace and everything, and you know how important that gets because we had a nice luncheon for Sue the other day, and things happen at work sometimes, and you can't
They
make those
do.
kind of things. I know you got a last minute deal. I will just tell you that Mark Orgel did a great job
I
tent
got a
sitting
good
for you.
report back.
So, but you missed a very nice affair. Got to see a lot of people in town. Your mom was there. But seeing that both of the chiefs there, and well, all three of the chiefs were actually there, and it was good to see everybody. And Sue certainly deserved the great pat on the back for everything that she's done. Hey, listen, something came down this week. I want to talk to you about. It's the new fuel modification plan. I'd like to kind of know what that entails and maybe kind of the process and everything behind it, why we're doing it, and maybe how long it takes to get it done.
Yeah, so I think one of and we have our updated wildfire mitigation committee that's working on our approach to wildfires, but fuel modification is a critical tool in our arsenal that we have to, slow the spread of a wildfire. And I've seen it not firsthand, but when I was up in the Palisades after the fire and I was talking to our firefighters up there, they literally showed me video of how how there was like an area that was like a break essentially, and how the fire was essentially stopping right there. So I saw it in action just in that video
Yeah.
to show how important fuel modification is. So with this zone that is moving forward, will be 8.7 acres. It's called FMZ 18, and it's part of Bluebird Canyon area, the lower part of Bluebird Canyon, and it connects to other existing zones. And so it'll allow for over the next year, there will be, I think, hand crews with chainsaws are going to be going out and they're going to be essentially, doing the fuel modification. And then after that, I think every 3 times a year, there will be, follow-ups to ensure that that we're removing the dead vegetation and thinning up to 50% of the native species. One of the big challenges that we deal with as it relates to fuel modification is our whole city's in the coastal zone. And we also have the California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA. And that's created just overall a process where it takes around 3 years to get one of these zones permitted, which
Okay.
is really, in my view, unacceptable. And we're dealing with the threat of wildfire because, if a wildfire happens, it doesn't really matter. All the native species are going to be destroyed. And so will property as well as potentially human life will be endangered. So it really, I think this at the state level, what we really need is reform. And I think Diane Dixon has put forward legislation. I haven't reviewed it yet, but it's something that we really need to look at to make it easier and more cost effective and quicker to get our fuel modification zones approved because it's a critical tool.
And this one will take up to about, what is it, a year or so to get this one done?
I think a year, but then there'll be
Yeah.
continual
Okay.
maintenance that is
Okay.
part of this approval.
Well, one thing that I just want to take a second to point out is I don't know have the exact date in front of me, but people can go on if they're interested on the Laguna Beach Chamber of Commerce website. But Fire Chief Nico King is going to be on their Government Affairs Zoom meeting coming up in a week or two,
Okay.
and I'm sure he'll be talking about a lot of that stuff. And residents or business owners or whoever can, jump in on that Zoom call probably and hear some firsthand stuff from the chief on what he and his department are up to. So good stuff, though. It's better to get our arms around it now rather than wait till the first flames come down the hill.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
it took, I think it was years ago when we started this whole process. So we've been proactive. It takes way too long. That's the problem that we
yeah.
need to address longer term.
And then when something like LA happens, you want to, people I think like, oh, now we're responding by doing this stuff, but this is stuff to your credit, to Sue's credit, to Bob's credit, these are things that have been moving forward for a while, and good for Laguna Beach to put themselves in that situation. Hey, listen, you have a an FOA policy board meeting tomorrow afternoon, which would
Yes.
be
Three
Thursday
o'clock.
afternoon, depending on when you're watching this, at 3 o'clock. It's going to talk about the usage of the Irvine Bowl. Tell me what's on
Yeah.
everybody's mind.
Yeah. So Just for some background, the city of Laguna Beach owns the grounds that the Festival of the Arts sits on. But in the early 2000s, there was a lease that was entered into that provides a lease agreement between the city and the Festival of the Arts until 2041. And as part of that lease, it created the Irvine Bold Policy Committee, which includes two council members, which in this case it's Council Member Kempf and me, and then two Festival of the Arts board members, so four people total. And the role of the committee is essentially to look at to approve events that are going to be at the Irvine Bowl. And so there's a couple items. We have two different requests for events, both of which are going to exceed the decibel level that's currently allowed based on the 2020 policy. So that's will be there. We also have a question of the policy regarding the management and custody of structures and buildings on the Festival of the Arts grounds, because under the terms of the lease, the Irvine Bowl Policy Committee is the festival has exclusive use from May 1 to August 31st. And then the remaining dates are under the control of the festival, but subject to the terms of the policy committee. So of course, I want to hear public comment tomorrow, and that's how I'll make decisions on these specific applications and the policy in front of us. But as a general principle, I'm in favor of more usage at the Irvine Bowl. I think it's an underutilized asset that the community is very supportive of using. We're an arts community, and so having live music is something that really brings people together. And it's such a cool space that we want to make sure that we can, maximize its utilization. At the same time, we want to do it in a way where we're minimizing any impact on, the surrounding neighbors. And so one of the ideas that we've talked about in the past is instead of having different groups have to bring in their own sound equipment, having a approved third party vendor who would have sound equipment that's done in a way where it's, strategically and technologically designed to minimize the noise impact. So I think there's win-win solutions where we increase the utilization while still being cognizant of how we mitigate the impacts on neighbors. So that's our goal, is how can we really, but at the end of the day, I think this is a great asset for our community. We want to, ensure that we can utilize it.
Okay, but rumors of Woodstock 2025 are not they're unfounded, correct? I'm joking
Yeah.
with you. I'm joking with you. I think it's a great use. I think there's so much more we could do with the Irvine Bowl. Every time I'm in there for something, it's just you sit there and you just wonder why isn't. I mean, I get it. There's some residents nearby and everything, but it's such a fabulous place.
It's a magical place. It's where I graduated from high school.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good. Speaking of high school, I read in the sports over the last few years and everything like that. There's these Runagis, and I know they're relatives up at the high school that are these great athletes, great athletes. I see you in a coat and tie around town and everything, and I don't always. The first thing that comes to mind is not always Alex the athlete. Now maybe
That's
you'd
probably true.
surprise me, but it got me thinking. We have spring is just around the corner. We've got Little League Baseball coming up and, other things. And, the first call is always, hey, Mayor, can you throw out the first pitch?
Yep.
Is that something that we can expect Alex Rounaghi on the mound for?
Not this Friday, but next Friday. So I have to, I'll be
Uh-huh.
practicing. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Okay, well, let me know. I have a mitt. We could play a little catch if you need to.
Okay. Sounds
And
good.
it would be fun. Then I'm assuming you're also, we have the Patriots Day parade coming up in the middle of March
Yep.
that
Looking
you'll
forward to that.
now, do you ride on the city
Yes.
group for that, or you have your own car?
No, I think there's the city trolley. Last year it was I think last year it was canceled, but the year before we
Yeah,
the whole city council did it on the trolley.
yeah. Okay. Well, good stuff happening around town. I'm
Yeah.
trying to settle down one problem in town that has nothing to do or very little to do with you at City Hall. But there's people know that there's a huge issue up at the school district. We've seen letter writing campaigns where each side's attacking the other. I'm trying to settle that. I wrote a column the other day. I'm trying to settle that whole thing down. I want everybody being able to say, whatever they want, but I don't want it done in a tone or, unfounded attacks. Um, any advice you can give me? My phone's always open, Alex.
Okay, sound it's not, you have a hard job, Tom, so I don't envy you.
Yeah, I have a hard job. You have a hard job. Listen, I always appreciate you taking time. I will see you tomorrow. I'm going to head to the meeting
Okay,
and
good.
see
Three
what you do with
o'clock.
the FOA.
Looking forward to it.
Okay.
Thanks, Tom.
Take
Appreciate
care.
it.
Thanks for another issue of Fair Game Laguna.